Alright, so we are finally a few days out from the Epsom Derby meeting. Obviously, the Epsom Oaks is the day before on Friday. And I'm just going to talk about the race. There's a listed race afterwards, the Surrey Stakes, that I'll talk about as well. But yeah, obviously, the Epsom Oaks, obviously won by some absolute stars in the past, like Enable. Last year we saw Mini Hawk win, and she went on to come second in the Arc. And then the year before we saw, I believe it was Amelia who won, and that was her last ever start. And I think she would have gone on to do incredible things if she kept racing. But yeah, obviously one of the all-time great meetings. I went to the Epsom Derby the last 2 years, and it's a great track. I mean, you can only see like the home straight really, but it's a great meeting, and some real like champions come out of these races. So we'll start with Amelia Earhart, obviously with Ryan Moore, Aidan O'Brien, Coolmore. They win these races, don't they? But I don't know. I don't know if they'll win this year. I think it's a competitive race. But we'll talk about her. Obviously, she's by Camelot, I believe, and she was last seen winning the Chester Oaks. And she did look very good. Although I don't know, it's like how strong was that race? Although I said the same thing about Constitution River, and he won. After winning the D Stakes, he won the French Derby, that sort of thing. So I'm usually wrong about that when I'm judging how strong races are. But she does look really good. I think she's the rightful favourite when you consider her connections. As I said, she's by Camelot, so she's a real Derby bred sort of horse. And yeah, I think if it's a wet track like they're saying it's going to be, I think she's the main horse to be on in this race. She's got that form on sort of yielding ground. She hasn't had like real slop, I guess, but as you can see, she's run on a few different surfaces, and she's done pretty well most of the time. But yeah, as you can see, the current going description is good to soft, but apparently they've had like heaps of rain, and I don't know, I saw some tweet about them like watering the track or something like that when they knew there was going to be rain. So I'm trying to factor in the horse side I'd back if it was a bit dry, the horse side back if it was a bit of slop, a bit of wet in the ground. But yeah, I think Amelia Earhart's obviously the rightful favourite. By Camelot, Ryan Moore, and she did look really good at Chester. So we'll move on to the second favourite, Legacy Link. Now this horse is so well bred. Like it's related to Frankel. This horse, you can see in her pedigree. Her dam's out of Kind, who is Frankel's mother. So yeah, really supremely bred, and with that, like Derby Galileo, I think a Derby distance will be no problem for her. She comes out of the Musadora Stakes, where she won, pretty well. It was pretty solid win. And I think, there were some good horses behind her that day. I think Felicitas was being spoken about as an Oaks sort of horse. But I think she won, pretty well. She was quite a hyped sort of 2-year-old, going to that Fillies Mile, and then, before that, winning on her debut, she looked really good. So I think she's very nice. I think if the track comes up a bit dry, like good to soft, I think she's the main horse, to be honest. She's the horse I'll be backing. If it's a drier track, I'll back her over Amelia Earhart. I think I really like Legacy Link. I'm really infatuated by her breeding, to be fair. But yeah, I think she's really good. We'll move on to some of these others. You got Thundering On, who she won over a mile and a quarter last start at Group 3 level. Although her breeding, I'm not too sure if she's going to get a mile and a half. Like this is Epsom 2,400 meters. Like this is not a normal mile and a half. This is like really, you need stamina. It's very, you need a tough horse to, do this. And I don't know if this horse is, the right sort of horse for an Oaks. Although, she did look really good last start. Although I think she's more of like a, French Oaks sort of type. Maybe could run in like a Nassau at Goodwood to like later on in the season. But yeah, I'm not sure if she's really an Oaks horse. And you got Cameo, who hasn't really done much wrong. Obviously Wayne Lorden rides, so he'll probably set the pace on her. And by Wootton Bassett might not get the trip, although it has that Galileo in the family. So you never know with some of these horses. Like I remember last year, Whirl was meant to be the pacemaker, and she literally almost beat Mini Hawk after going like handlebars down the entire race. So you never know with some of these pacemakers, like they can hold their own for such a long way in these races. Then you got the Wathan horse, A La Prochaine. Probably butchered that pronunciation, but they're coming here. Ralph Beckett's got 3 horses in this race, I think. So they've got a few sort of horses that I think can maybe break out and win a classic. Although I don't really think so. I think it's more between the top 2 in the market. But if I was going to have a play on something, one of these exotics, I think Venetian Lace would be the one. William Buick, obviously, Charlie Appleby doesn't have a runner in either of the classics, which is pretty strange. But, William Buick gets jocked up on Venetian Lace. And I think, by Massar, who was the Derby winner, and, out of Dubawi May, I think she could really surprise this horse. Comes from a 3rd in the 1,000 Guineas. She's the only horse that comes from a race of that calibre. And I remember, I don't know who said this, I think Charlie Appleby might have said it last year about ruling court before the Derby. And that is, the Guineas is one of the best preparations you can have for a Derby or an Oaks. Because you're against world-class horses. And, it's just a really good, it just makes sense, doesn't it? The only like asterisk on it is going from a mile up to a mile and a half. So I think if you're factoring in Charlie Appleby's wisdom, then Venetian Lace is one of the good sort of roughies to be on here. And yeah, she's a real Group 1 horse, isn't she? Like, she came 2nd in the Fillies Mile, 3rd in the 1,000 Guineas. Like, I'm a little bit surprised, they haven't gone to like a Coronation Stakes or one of those sorts of races. But, they're really, putting her to the sword here, going for an Oaks. And they must look at her pedigree and think, yeah, this filly's an Oaks horse, because otherwise, why would they run her here? But yeah, I think I probably won't have a bet on her, but I think she's, a good value play, especially if it dries up. Like, obviously, you can see her form, hasn't run on a wet track, and when it was good to soft, she didn't do too well. So she really needs a dry deck. But yeah, when I saw her name in like the final entries, I was really surprised, in a good way though, because I think she's very talented. And then some of these other horses, like, there's not too much to talk about. As I said, Ralph Beckett's got 3 here. Although some people on Twitter are saying this Sugar Island could really surprise. Like, she's shown a lot of talent in her races. And obviously, yeah, really well bred. And if it's like a really wet track, she's got that win on a heavy track as a 2-year-old. Like, if it's really like slop fest, like pure mud, like Song Clued in November, then she could just go forward and they won't see her ever again. She could just win from the front. As I suggested, might be the case with Cameo. But yeah, if there is a really wet track, she could be one of the really interesting ones. Sugar Island. But yeah, that's it for the race. I think, as I said, it's very, very track dependent what I'm going to bet on. But I think if it's going to be dry, I'll have something on Legacy Link. And if it's going to be a bit wet, then I'm just going to go Amelia Earhart. Just, has that Camelot real Derby pedigree. And yeah, she's had a few runs on like a yielding surface. And, it's just like, the Mafia. It's just what they do, isn't it? They win these classics. So if it's wet, I'll probably go Amelia Earhart. If it's dry, Legacy Link. And yeah, it just has an exotic, like, just so it's on record that I said it, Venetian Lace is a really good a roughie, even though she's only 14-1, but I think she's a really nice horse. But yeah, we'll just have a look at this Surrey Stakes as well. I know there's that Diomed Stakes with Persica as a favourite. It's just like an okay race. I'm not really that interested by it. Although you do have a horse like Seagulls 11 who's really flying at the moment, has really performed in some French black type races this year. Although he's drawn barrier 8, which I don't really love, and yeah, it's just not a race that really thrills me that much. But we'll talk about the Surrey Stakes. Yeah, listed 7 furlongs. Oh, that's not it. That's a handicap. Keep going. Got that side game sponsorship. I think they make those like Japanese horse racing games. I'm not sure. I've just seen bits and pieces about it, but we'll just have a quick talk about some of these. I like Stellar Sunrise if the track holds up. Obviously, has a really good trainer and jockey partnership in Andrew Balding and Asheen Murphy. And he was last seen running third in a listed race at Newmarket. So, he's come back all right. He was beaten a little way, but I think, sometimes, he's had a few runs. He might just be getting to the top of his sort of ability now, I guess. And then you have the likes of Northern Champion, who went to Dubai in the winter, and they ran him in the Alquoz Sprint, which seemed like a very sharp jump in competition. He's probably here to get his confidence back a little bit. Greek Mythology is really interesting, actually. Obviously comes across from Ireland. Came third in a Group 3 last. Actually, I think it was a listed race last start. So yeah, he's thereabouts. Obviously gets the gun jockey and Dylan Brown McMonagle. And then some of these others are kind of interesting. I guess Postmodern, who was, that really hyped 2-year-old at Ascot last year, and he hasn't really done a great deal. Like he was last seen running in a handicap at Meydan, so he's probably here for a bit of a confidence builder. And then Ardisia, who I really liked as a 2-year-old, but probably hasn't really trained on, hasn't really done a great deal this year. But yeah, similar to the last race, I think it's really track dependent. I think if it's a dry deck, then it's going to be Stellar Sunrise. And if there's a bit of give in the ground, which I think is more likely, probably has something on Greek Mythology. It comes across from Ireland. You don't just, they've obviously targeted this race, so I think that's a interesting horse, Greek Mythology. But yeah, obviously tomorrow I'll release an Epsom Derby preview and talk about the Coronation Cup as well. Obviously, Calandian's a bit, not sure if he's going to come over, so that should be really interesting. But yeah, if you like this sort of content, like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you later.